So what is going on, guys? This is Taste, and I'm bringing you another Black Ops 2 commentary here on the Endeavour gaming channel. This one featuring gameplay from Killa playing Domination on Nuketown, as you can see, but I'm not going to talk about that because I've got a massive topic today, one that everyone has hopefully just about finished talking about in their sort of ragey, whiny hate voices, which is the next generation gaming consoles. And the supposed big two, even though they always fail on revenue in comparison to the other one, which I'll get to eventually, have released like their first releases, if you can call them releases, and that is the Xbox One and the PS4 have had forms of release. And I'll start off with the Xbox One. The Xbox One released their console out, and it was sort of, they spoke a lot about the sort of the TV features in it, and they sort of fact that you're not really going to need anything else. Like you don't need like a satellite box and stuff like that. You can just watch TV straight off your Xbox One. And they also released what I think is probably the best feature that's so far been released on next-gen consoles, which is their feature with Skype, where you can have Skype on your Xbox One and you can talk to people on Skype while gaming, which is terrific. I mean, you can do it anyway, which is how Sony's going to respond to it. Sony's basically just going to make a couple of sponsorship deals with headset companies, or vice versa, and basically just advertise how easy it is to do that without an Xbox One, so that people can still talk on Skype and game, and they'll just like, it will just make cheaper headsets, and the headset companies will do it because if you get your headset sort of recommended by a console or sponsorship with the console, everyone that doesn't know about headsets, which is a lot of people, will just automatically buy whichever one the console tells them to buy. So the headset companies are all for it. Sony's going to be all for it because it just eliminates one of Microsoft's features as competition. And what Sony did in response to that was they didn't even release a console, they just released a controller. And by releasing the controller, it wasn't so much a release of a controller as it was just a release of a statement. Because I say in response because, even though they did it before, because I'm not going to patronise any of you with information that Sony and Microsoft have a much better idea of what each other's consoles are going to be than we do. So they kind of knew what they were going to release, and Sony basically did that in order to say, you know, Microsoft's got all these great features on the Xbox One, like, yeah, go for it. If you want a TV and stuff like that, go for it. What we're going to give you is what an actual gamer is going to interact with. If you want games on your console, this is what you're going to be looking at. And this is what we're going to talk about. This is all we're going to talk about. You are going to be holding this console. You're going to be holding this controller. This is the way you're going to game. You don't go up and press buttons on your console and things like that unless you're turning it on or off, really, do you? Or taking a game out or putting a game in. Like, the stuff you use to game is the controller. So Sony goes, here it is. Here's everything you could ever possibly want to know about this controller, as a sort of statement, as to say, if you want to watch TV on your console, go and buy an Xbox One. If you want to game with it, buy a PS4. And it's not exactly as though they're not going to have anything to release when they have their console, which is what some people sort of seem to suggest from that. Oh, they've only released the controller because their console's terrible, right? I don't know how much you know about the technological industry, but Sony does not make bad technology, otherwise they wouldn't be so successful, right? The PS4 is going to be a fantastic piece of technology, especially considering the way Sony does things in comparison to Microsoft, because what Microsoft tend to do is they really up their software and then just sort of have the hardware keep up with it. Like, they go, we're going to have this amazing software on it, and then someone's gone, the shit we've got at the moment doesn't really run that very well, and they go, right, we'll upgrade the hardware until it does. And Sony kind of do it the other way around. Sony go, we've got this absolutely phenomenal hardware, and we're going to make some software to go with it to sort of show off what it can do, as opposed to just sort of having amazing hardware that does very mundane stuff really fast. And as a result, the Sony consoles always cost more, because if you've got much hardware, it costs more than software, basically, because it's actually physical stuff, and then there's got to with software anyway. Even though Microsoft got to with the hardware, but it's sort of a bigger spectrum of increase overall, despite the fact that performance is often similar. Other than that, that's pretty much all they've released, because the consoles are going to be the same. Like, they always are. The PS3 and the Xbox 360 are the same console, with slightly different features, and the sort of features are the same kinds of things that you've seen released for the Xbox One and the PS4, like, it's sort of in that context. So they all know that's going on, and that's why they've released that. So then Sony are actually going to release their console and all of that, and they're going to release the prices eventually, which is going to be where the third next-gen console, the one that everyone's forgotten about pretty much by now, which is the Wii U, will come in, because last generation's release, the PS3 was the most expensive console at £550 on release. And because of the way currency and technology pricing works, the next generation consoles will both cost more than that, because the console's got to be better than the PS3. If the PS4 or the Xbox One is not better than a PS3, no one is going to buy them. Like, what would be the point? So as a result, it's going to cost more. So let's say it only costs marginally more. Let's say you can get an Xbox One, which will be the cheaper one, for £600, and then you're going to want 2 games of it when you get it. Like, you're not going to want one game, are you? And everyone will get the same games pretty much. You're always when you first buy a console, you always get one of the same 3 games, or normally 2 of the same 3 games, which is you get a racing game, you get a sports game, and you get a first-person shooter game. Like, everyone gets 1 to 2 out of 3 of those. Some rich kids get all of them, you know. But so let's say you're going to spend £700 on that, right? Nintendo are going to be miles ahead, because obviously they've already had the Wii U release for months, so they've already got so much revenue out of that. What what Nintendo are going to do is they're going to wait until the sort of release times. The release times are always before Christmas for obvious reasons, because then it's like, oh my god, this, I really want it, when can I get it? Oh, Christmas. And right before Christmas, you're going to see all of the big Wii U games come out, all of them. Like, I don't mean the sort of the 6 or 7 you normally expect for something. I'm expecting sort of between September and Christmas to see 20 to 30 massive Wii U games come out, like 9.5 out of 10 rated and above games coming out for it. And, you know, you'll obviously get your standard ones like your Mario games, your Zelda games, things like that, but you'll just get loads of everything come out. Because then what you'll find is you've got the option at Christmas of getting this sort of 2 games on a console for £700, or the Wii U, which you might even already have, but will only cost you like 200 quid if you don't have it, and cheaper games, and loads of them. Like, there's 4 or 5 good games for an Xbox One, 4 or 5 good games for a PS4. Great, there's like 50 good games for a Wii U, and they're all cheaper, and you can get almost all of them for the same price as your PS4 or Xbox One, and the good games for that. And then sort of you'll get your wide spectrum gamer. Why would they pick anything else? Why would they go and spend all of that money before it gets cheaper? Like, if you're someone that enjoys absolutely any game, or like any good game, it don't really matter what sort of genre it is, what context it is, if it's just a good game, you're going to enjoy it, then you're going to go for that, because they're the sort of target audience Nintendo goes for. They go for the sort of the fun or the family games. Like, just games for you to sit around and have a laugh with, things like that. As opposed to the really serious, mature gamers who don't have time for things like Mario and Zelda because they're too busy doing adult things like fucking people's mums and calling people faggots. You know, those kind of gamers are the people that are going to just go, no, I want an Xbox One and I want Call of Duty Ghosts. Get it for me now, mother. Like, that's... They're going to get their sales from that, but I honestly don't reckon they're going to get as much as the Wii U will, which is why Nintendo's always ahead. Nintendo has, almost every generation on revenue alone, been ahead of the other 2 companies almost until the next generation, with the exception of the generation with the N64 in which they were never overtaken. Not once, because N64, like, come on. Like, why would you want anything else at that stage? So, that's what Nintendo is going to do with that. And it's really obvious that they're going to do that. And then, like, once they've all gone, shit, Nintendo have done pretty well out of that. They're already nearly done on their next generation console. Like, they're going for it. And they'll release the next one months before as well, and they'll just do the same tactic, and they'll win with it. But it's not as though Microsoft and Sony are not doing what they want to do either. So they will go with that. But as far as deciding between the 2 consoles go, I honestly don't know. I'll have to see the actual PS4 release come out, but a lot of people are raging about it because they didn't see what they wanted to see, because they're never going to show it, because the 2 consoles are going to be too similar for them to want to. Like, there's no point them showing you what the games console can do, because the other one's just going to go, yeah, so does ours. Like, this is a waste of time. And instead of people sort of raging about what they didn't see, people haven't really been paying attention to what they have seen, and aren't really looking at it, or what's missing in terms of the fact that, you know, once you've realised the consoles are going to be the same, you've got to look at it, like, what's still missing? Like, what have they not told us that's blatantly going to be different between the 2 consoles? And, like, the PS4 hasn't said anything. Like, they've just released a controller, as far as I can tell. I mean, unless it's sort of in the depths of the internet, or I'm absolutely blind, or it came out very, very recently. I don't think I've even seen a picture of a PS4 yet. So, unless it's that, is it the one with the blurry advert? I might have just about managed to see it. Maybe. Really squinting. But, you know, they could release anything into there, and they're still keeping that out. And then, on top of all of that, there's 2 little letters that are going to throw everything out of proportion. If these consoles come out and they're like 800, 900 quid, like, if they go that expensive, just get PC. Like, PCs are just going to start dominating everything, because sort of you can get, for 800, 900 quid, the PC you could get for that bear in mind, PCs don't go next gen. Like, if you get a really, really top quality PC now, by the time the next generation comes out, your PC will still do fine. Like, you get your people that are always like, I have to have the best technology at all points in gaming, right? Yeah, whatever. If you get like a top quality PC at any point, 4 years later, it still does its job. Like, it doesn't do it very well anymore, granted, but it's still going to be sort of just as good as having the next console, except you've only bought it once instead of twice. And as a result, you can get sort of any game on it as well. So there is that as well.